why the Mórrígan doesn't introduce herself. So you're over here wondering, how do I even begin with the Mórrígan? How do I meet her without getting it wrong? And that's a fair question. So today's truth in the Mórrígan Academy podcast is a simple one. She doesn't arrive with a neat title or a tidy introduction. She shows up in the way that you need, not the way that you might expect. That's not a flaw in the tradition. That is the tradition itself. So, let me take you straight into one of her earliest appearances in the medieval manuscripts. It's called the Táin Bó Ragavna from the Yellow Book of Lecan. Now, this little story text is actually my favourite, I think, of all of them. And it sits right before the big cattle raid of Cooley, the Táin Bó Cúailnge. So Táin is a raid. This is the cattle raid of Ragavna, and it is a rev scale or a pre-tale for the Táin Bó Cúailnge. And it's a perfect beginner's window, not because it's gentle, but because it shows her exactly as she works. Sideways, shape-shifting, testing attention, not begging for belief. So, picture this. The bowled anti-hero Cú Chulainn is asleep at Dún Imrí when he hears a cry from the north. Now, the translation, and say Leahy's translation, says that it's so dire and terrifying that he falls out of his bed like a heavy load hitting the floor. Deserves it anyway. But that's the level of disruption we're dealing with. He grabs Leag, his charioteer, and they follow the sound to Á Dá Ferta. There, they see a scene that's really unsettling, and even thinking about it or trying to imagine it today is still unsettling. And every detail in it actually matters. So, again, picture this. A chariot with a single red horse whose pole goes straight through the horse's body. A red woman with red eyebrows in a red mantle or cloak trailing behind her. And a man driving a lone cow, silent, letting her speak for him. Now, Cú Chulainn challenges her because, of course, he does. He believes that all the cows in Ulster belong to him and he has every right to challenge this mysterious woman who is in his territory, right? Because, of course, he owns everything. So, she challenges him first. He challenges her first. And she answers him then in riddles with satirical names designed to throw him off. Now, the actual translation of her name is really interesting, the name that she gives him. It's like, it's a rosk, basically, and it's a descriptive, and it's a spell, and a chant, and an incantation as much as an actual name. So, it's worth looking up. We do have a copy of this on the Mórrígan Academy blog. If you want to go and have a look at it for yourself, have a read of it, absolutely. But everything she's saying to him is definitely designed to throw him off. She's not polite. She's not clear. She's testing him. And when he snaps, he leaps into her chariot, puts both feet on her shoulders and a spear to her head. And that's when she drops the act and becomes a blackbird on a branch beside him. Then, let's say, the real conversation begins. She tells him that she's come from the fairy mound of Cruachan, the Shí Cruachan, which we know as the cave of Cruachan, right? This entrance to the other world. She tells him that she's tied to cattle, to sovereignty, and to consequence. She tells him that she's going to oppose him, guard his death. Now, guard his death means literally kind of stand over it while he's dying. Maybe make sure he actually does die, right? And she tells him she's going to shape the very events that lead to the Táin Bó Cúailnge, the cattle raid of Cooley. She names the 3 forms that she'll take to trip him up in future battles: an eel, a wolf, and a white heifer with red ears, which absolutely comes to pass later on. And he meets each one with the same youthful arrogance, promising to break, beat, or cripple her. So they part ways exactly as you'd expect in a story about warriors and goddesses. Tense, unfinished, with a prophecy hanging between them. And that's it. There's no, I am the Mórrígan goddess of anything. She reveals herself by action, not announcement or titles. So here's the lesson, the key lesson for beginners or for people who are trying to understand the Mórrígan in a little more depth and complexity, because she is very complex. If you're waiting for a neat title or a soft introduction, you're going to miss her. You're going to absolutely miss her. She will just pass on and move on to the next person that she sees might be useful to the work that she needs done, right? She is known in the doing, in the shape-shifting, in the strange moment that pulls you out of your comfortable bed and drops you on the floor, metaphorically or otherwise. Just hitting the floor like a load of laundry or a sack of potatoes or whatever you want to say, right? She is, sorry, just gathering my thoughts here. She is the land. She's the warning and the consequence. She represents the land, the people, the other world, all of this, and it's all wrapped up into the shape that she appears in. And she's the one who names what's coming long before any of us have caught up. She sees the big picture while we're still struggling with the details. Now, one of my students put this beautifully during a 5-day challenge. In their comments and feedback in the 5-day challenge, they said that they were confused by all the old texts and all the modern noise. So they made a rule for themselves based on my advice. They're going to do one small real life action every day based on whatever they understood in the moment. No perfection, no crystal clear certainty, just turning towards her, even slightly. And from the feedback I received, it absolutely changed them. And it wasn't through big ritual or mystical fireworks or, life-changing revelations, but by paying attention and responding with honesty, by putting themselves out in front of her consistently. And that's the heart of Irish practice, certainly with the Mórrígan, but really in all of our spiritual tradition. But that's where she shows up, definitely. So, I like to give you a little practice, a little something to do as part of the podcast. So here's a simple practice for you today. Sit for 1 minute and ask yourself, what form is she taking for me right now? Don't overthink it. Is she showing up as a disruption, as a boundary, as sharp truth, as a reminder you've been ignoring something, as a foot that's kicking you out of a comfortable bed? You don't have to name her perfectly. You don't have to understand all of what she is. You just have to notice what's happening and where she's intersecting in your life. Journal prompt for this episode is, what part of this story, so I do encourage you to go and read the Tombo Regavna, but what part of this story unsettles me, and what might that be pointing at in my own life? Now, I'll leave a link in the description below to where we have it on the blog, or you can go and search the Mórrígan Academy blog, absolutely. But look in the description below, right? So, what part of this story unsettles me, and what might that be pointing at in my own life? Now, if you want more grounding, go back to the episode on daily honouring, or move forward into the Foundations course, Understanding the Goddess Mórrígan. I'll link that below as well, where we take this step by step. And I'm going to leave you with just one line recap. She doesn't introduce herself because you learn who she is by paying attention. That is absolutely essential to understanding this goddess. It's on you. It's more than one line, but anyway, it's on you to pay attention. It's on you to see the shapes, to see her hand in things. And you only learn that by practice. You only learn that by experience, by keeping records, by doing the little things consistently, by doing your own practices, by paying attention. Now, if you're ready to go deeper, if the Mórrígan is calling you, or if you want to call to her, you absolutely need solid ground to stand on. So by all means, go and buy my book. I am looking to get on the Llewellyn Books bestseller list, which means I have to sell 10,000 copies. I don't know how I'm doing yet, but I won't know for about another 6 months. But still, we need to sell 10,000 copies. There's more than 10,000 people out there who have signed up to our mailing lists, have taken classes with us over the years. So send this to a friend, buy a copy of the book and send it to the friend. Leave reviews. But the book is called The Mórrígan, Ireland's Goddess, Sovereign Secrets from an Irish View, by myself, Laura O'Brien. It's available wherever books are sold, online, in person. Ask your local bookseller. And as beautiful as this book is, they really did a great job on the cover design, I have to say. But it is not a shelf decoration. It is a working manual for sovereignty with source material, proper translations, and the work laid out in a plan that you can follow. So I hope that's been useful to you, this little insight into understanding this goddess and how she might show up. So if so, please, again, send it to a friend, subscribe, do what you do, leave reviews, help a gal out, and I'll see you in the next video or episode or wherever I see you next. Slán.